question, what do we, you and me, have in common with an Old West preacher, saloon hostess, lawman, an outlaw, a cattle baron, a shopkeeper, and an undertaker, along with Greek warrior and a Japanese samurai. Each of us carry rules, our code, inside us that we use to make decisions each and every day. And that, my friend, is where the story behind the Code of the West begins.
Come on and ride, cowboy, ride. Roll up your rietas and pull your sombrero down tight. Yes, we're gonna ride, we're the trail.
Whoa, hold our horses there. We've got a stampede of information and insight coming our way about the Code of the West. 10 rules to live by or die trying. We're going to look at 6 of them with an example of somebody that follows it, bends it, or ignores it, turns it to their own purposes. But the other 4 are important as well. Take pride in your work. Be tough, but fair. Ride for the brand. Talk less, say more. Add those 4 to the 6 we're going to look at. We've got our 10 rules to live by, or die trying, that make up the Code of the West. But there's some principles behind those. We're calling them chapters or lessons that are important to understand, because codes aren't just for the West. They aren't for just then or now and here. They're for everywhere, all the time. 7 chapters with 7 lessons, 10 rules that make up one Code of the West. A lot to grab onto. Stay in the saddle, we're going to ride hard, and I think I hear that stampede coming.
Better drive, or we'll leave you behind. On and ride. Grab a ride.
Ooh, ah, we are the mighty... More feeling? Got it. Ooh, ah, we are the mighty. More serious? Understand. Ooh, ah, we are the mighty Spartans. Say, ooh, ah. I'm thinking I need a plastic sword or a metal garbage can lid to bang on, something to feel a little more, I don't know, warrior-like? Our high school mascot was the Spartans, but we would have been no match for these Grecian warriors circa 650 BC. They began their military training at age 7, and part of what they learned, part of their code, was to guard the person to your left with your shield before attacking from the right with your sword. Now, the idea of having a code is nothing new. Codes can serve as reminders and reasons for doing what is good, just, and merciful. One version of the Code of the West puts forward 10 actions. Live each day with courage. Take pride in your work. Always finish what you start. Do what has to be done. Be tough but fair. When you make a promise, keep it. Ride for the brand. Talk less and say more. Remember that some things aren't for sale, and to know where to draw the line. In the American West, keeping promises counted, no matter whether you started the day with a Bible or bullets in your hand.
my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie in green pastures.
In the American West, the code was unwritten, only put down on paper in the 1930s. Codes of conduct based on ethics rooted in values and beliefs are nothing new. In many cultures, the focus is family, community, group. Not so with the Code of the West in the American West. Focus, individual freedom. So what happened when barbed wire showed up, farming started, fences were built, and rangeland, grazing patterns, and cattle trails were being erased? Would the code in the middle of the Wild West and ghost towns and the New West survive, or would it be relegated to BT? Before trains? Everyone had a choice to make. The Old West was not the place to find sushi or ramen, either in town, much less on the trail. While doing battle with my chopsticks, the samurai of Japan mastered their tools according to the code of Bushido, the way of the warrior. Apparently, though, they had some less than appetizing uses for chopsticks. Loyalty to the master, discipline, and self-sacrifice were all important parts of their code, and there were severe consequences for violating it. Much of the Code of the West focused on honorable behavior, but because of the rootlessness of the towns, lawlessness roamed the hills, looking for easy prey. Sometimes what needs doing showed up as greed masquerading as survival, at the expense of others. The idea of having a code, a set of actions to which you're committed, live by even, doesn't automatically make them good. Codes can also serve as excuses, the rationale, for perpetrating what is destructive, unjust, or even cruel. Many of the cattle roaming the West after the Civil War were the result of Spanish colonists abandoning their cattle. Riding, roping, and staying out of the way of thundering hoofs were critical skills. Many of those who came west were fleeing the horrors of the Civil War, including many emancipated slaves. Competition was fierce for these wild cattle. Some ranchers were able to acquire many head and many acres, but they were always under pressure from rustlers and outlaws who were stealing and rebranding their cattle, or by violence tried to force them off their land. Talk was cheap, action was what counted, and firearms were always at the ready to defend both land and brand, because there's always someone ready to take what you earned by your grit. Much of what is believed, or at least imagined, about the Old West came from authors like Zane Grey. Formerly a dentist, he traveled the West and found inspiring places in which he set stories of people in this rugged environment. Now, the stories of courage and fear, of bravery and running away, of good and bad are as old as humanity itself. But the desire to live in a place, well, instead of the tenement, the open range. Instead of the smell of the city, that of campfire coffee during the cattle drive. Even experiencing rattlesnakes appearing along the trail. The taste of rock gut whiskey in the saloon where a piano player hammered in the corner. All these things brought them forward to the code, and a time and place where fortunes could still be made, and heroes were born for the moment. And while the code is associated with cowboys, it wasn't only for men or those with European roots. Oh my goodness. A Tom Mix super magnetic compass gun and signal whistle that glow in the dark. From radio plays to music to comic books, the stories of the West captured the imagination of Americans in the 1920s through the 1950s. Saturday afternoon double matinees, that was about the Western. Today, the community and commerce of the West still go on, even though solar panels and wind turbines sprout like sunflowers in the prairie. The state of Wyoming went as far as in 2010 making the Code of the West their official state code of ethics. Movies like Tombstone, shot largely at Mescal Movie Set, along with TV series like Yellowstone, popularized the stories that are as old as the Dusty West itself. So has the code or a variation of it disappeared like a tumbleweed blowing away in the wind? Or does it live on? Something to, well, hang our hats on for years to come. A code that shows up in how we act, not by what authority or position we hold. Those 7 lessons, each in a chapter, are these. Codes are nothing new. Codes validate individuals or groups. Some focus more on individuals, like the Code of the West, and some more on groups. Codes can promote unity or excuse cruelty in the case of a code that proves to be destructive. Codes, well, they don't focus on what I think and what I feel, what I'm thinking about doing. They focus on the actions that a person takes. Codes combine reality and myth. The combination of those two, extremely powerful. Codes take root in popular culture. That's how they broaden and deepen, and in fact endure even beyond one generation. Codes have always been personal. What I believe, what I value, what my priorities are, these show up in the rules that I decide are the ones that I'm going to live by. Peter Reese here for Code of the West with one remaining question. When it comes time to make decisions that are big or bigger, what's your code?
Where are the heroes for my boy today? Who'll make the memories for him when he's gray? Will he never ride on the range like I did? Will he never know what it means to have heroes?